You plant your tomatoes in spring. They grow beautifully. They get tall and bushy and green. They load up with flowers. And for a few weeks in early summer, you are pulling tomatoes off those plants like it's nothing. Life is good. You feel like a gardening genius. And then July hits, or August, and slowly, then all at once, the tomatoes just stop. The flowers keep coming, but nothing sets into fruit, or the plant stops flowering altogether, or the fruit that does form stays small and hard and refuses to ripen properly. And you're standing there looking at this big, apparently healthy plant thinking, what on earth is going on? Now today's topic is one that I get asked about more than almost anything else on this channel. And honestly, it's the question that drove me absolutely crazy my first 2 seasons of growing tomatoes. Because here's what happens, and tell me if this sounds familiar. I've been exactly in that spot, and the frustrating part is that most of the advice out there tells you the wrong thing or only tells you half the story. So today I'm giving you the full picture, the real reasons your tomatoes slow down or stop producing in summer, and exactly what you can do about each one. Because there isn't just one fix. There are several, and once you understand them, you'll never have this problem the same way again. Hey everyone, welcome back to Simple Smart Gardening Tips, where we break down gardening in a way that actually makes sense, so you can spend less time frustrated and more time harvesting. Let's get into it. Alright, let's start with the biggest and most common reason tomatoes stop setting fruit in summer, and that is heat. Tomatoes are what's called a warm season crop, but here's the thing that surprises most people: they are not a hot season crop. There's a real difference. Tomatoes love warmth. They do not love extreme heat. And once temperatures push past a certain point, the plant essentially goes into survival mode and stops putting energy into making fruit. So what do you do about it? A few things. First, shade cloth. A 30% shade cloth draped over your tomato plants during the hottest part of the day, roughly between noon and 4 in the afternoon, can drop leaf temperature by 10 degrees or more. You're not blocking all the sun, just taking the edge off the most brutal afternoon heat. Your plants still photosynthesize, but they stop cooking. Second, mulch heavily. A 3 to 4 inch layer of straw or wood chip mulch around the base of your tomato plants keeps the soil temperature down significantly. Cool roots help the whole plant stay calmer in the heat. It also retains moisture, which leads me directly to the next point. Inconsistent watering is the second biggest reason tomatoes stop producing in summer, and it causes 2 specific problems that are incredibly common and incredibly preventable. The first is blossom end rot. If you've ever cut open a tomato and found the bottom end black, sunken, and rotten looking, that's blossom end rot. And despite what a lot of people think, it is not caused by a disease, and it is not caused by a lack of calcium in your soil. It is caused by inconsistent watering, preventing the plant from absorbing the calcium that's already there. When the soil goes from dry to soaked over and over again, the plant can't regulate its nutrient uptake properly, and the developing fruit pays the price. The second is fruit cracking. You've probably seen this. A tomato that was growing beautifully suddenly splits open right before you harvest it. This happens when the plant receives a large amount of water after a dry period. The inside of the fruit expands faster than the skin can stretch, and it cracks. Heartbreaking when you've been watching that tomato for weeks. Both of these problems have the same solution: consistent, deep, regular watering. Deep watering is key here. You want to water slowly and thoroughly so that moisture reaches 8 to 10 inches down into the soil. This encourages your tomato roots to grow deep, where the soil stays cooler and holds moisture longer. Shallow watering, a quick splash from a hose every day, trains your roots to stay near the surface where they're vulnerable to heat and drought. The best system for tomatoes is drip irrigation or a soaker hose on a timer. Set it to water deeply every 2 to 3 days rather than a little bit every day. Your tomatoes will be dramatically happier, more productive, and far less prone to all the problems we just talked about. And always water at the base of the plant, never from above. Wet foliage sitting overnight is an open invitation to fungal disease, which is a whole other set of problems you don't want. Tomatoes are self-pollinating. which means each flower contains both male and female parts and can technically pollinate itself. But, and this is crucial, they need vibration to do it. The pollen inside a tomato flower is held tightly in the anther, and it needs physical movement to shake it loose so it can reach the stigma and complete pollination. In nature, that vibration comes from bees, specifically bumblebees, which vibrate at a frequency that is perfectly matched to release tomato pollen. This is called buzz pollination, and it's genuinely fascinating. Here's the problem. In midsummer, bee activity often drops. The heat drives them to forage earlier in the morning and later in the evening. Gardens without enough flowering plants to attract pollinators see far fewer bee visits. And if you've been spraying any kind of pesticide, even some organic ones, you may have reduced the pollinator population in your garden without realizing it. Fewer bee visits means less vibration, which means fewer tomatoes setting from your flowers. The fix has two parts. First, plant pollinator attracting flowers near your tomatoes. Basil, borage, marigolds, zinnias, and lavender all bring bees in. If you don't have these growing near your tomatoes right now, this is something to plan for next season. Even a small pot of flowering herbs nearby makes a noticeable difference. Second, you can hand-pollinate your tomatoes. This sounds more complicated than it is. Just take an old electric toothbrush or a small battery-powered massager, turn it on, and touch the back of each open tomato flower for a couple of seconds each morning. The vibration shakes the pollen loose exactly the way a bumblebee does. It takes about 5 minutes for a whole plant, and the difference in fruit set is remarkable. This one technique alone has saved my tomato harvests in midsummer more than once. Let's talk about feeding, because overfeeding and underfeeding are both real issues with tomatoes in summer, and they produce surprisingly similar symptoms. Here's the thing about nitrogen: tomatoes need it, but too much of it at the wrong time causes a problem called excessive vegetative growth. What that means in plain language is that your plant puts all its energy into growing more leaves and stems instead of producing fruit. The plant looks incredible, huge, dark green, lush, but the fruit production tanks. If your tomato plants look almost too good in midsummer, but they're not setting fruit, this is worth considering. In the early stages of growth, when your plants are young and establishing, a nitrogen-rich fertilizer makes sense. But once your plants start flowering, you want to shift to a fertilizer that's lower in nitrogen and higher in phosphorus and potassium. Phosphorus supports root development and flower production. Potassium helps the plant regulate water, resist stress, and develop fruit properly. Look for a tomato-specific fertilizer or a bloom fertilizer formula. The numbers on the bag will be something like 5-10-10 or 4-18-38, where the middle and last numbers are higher than the first. Feed your tomatoes every 2 weeks once they start flowering. Don't skip feedings in summer thinking the plant is big enough to fend for itself. A heavily producing tomato plant is burning through nutrients fast and needs consistent replenishment to keep going. Also add a calcium supplement if you're dealing with blossom end rot. Liquid calcium applied as a foliar spray directly to the leaves is the fastest way to get it into the plant when absorption through the roots is being disrupted by inconsistent watering. This is the fix that genuinely surprises most people, and it's probably the one most people miss. Proper summer pruning can completely transform a struggling tomato plant in just a couple of weeks. If you're growing an indeterminate tomato variety, which includes most heirloom types and most cherry tomatoes, your plant will keep growing and growing indefinitely. It will send out what are called suckers, which are shoots that sprout from the junction between the main stem and a branch. If you let every sucker grow, your plant becomes a massive tangled bush that puts enormous energy into growing new foliage rather than ripening existing fruit. In midsummer, when you want maximum fruit production, remove suckers below the first flower cluster consistently. This focuses the plant's energy on the fruit that's already developing rather than on new growth. It also improves airflow through the plant, which reduces fungal disease risk and lets more light reach the developing fruit so it ripens faster. For determinate varieties, like Roma tomatoes, don't prune heavily. Determinate tomatoes are bred to grow to a fixed size, flower, and fruit all at once. Heavy pruning of a determinate plant actually reduces your harvest rather than improving it. Know what variety you have before you start cutting. Also consider cutting back the very top of an indeterminate plant in late summer, a technique called topping. When you're 6 to 8 weeks from your first expected frost, pinch, or cut off the top growing tip of the plant. This stops the plant from investing energy in new growth it won't have time to harvest anyway, and redirects everything into ripening the fruit that's already on the vine. We can't talk about tomatoes stopping production without mentioning disease, because fungal diseases in particular are summer's silent harvest killers. Early blight and late blight are the two most common. Both show up as dark spots on the lower leaves first, then work their way up the plant. As more and more leaves are lost, the plant loses its ability to photosynthesize, weakens rapidly, and stops producing. By the time a lot of gardeners notice something is wrong, the disease has already been progressing for weeks. Prevention is far more effective than treatment here. Water at the base of the plant, not from above. Wet leaves are the primary entry point for fungal spores. Mulch heavily to prevent soil splash from reaching the lower leaves during watering or rain. Remove any yellowed or spotted leaves as soon as you notice them and dispose of them away from the garden, not in your compost pile. A weekly spray of diluted neem oil on the undersides and tops of leaves works well as a preventative, especially during humid stretches of summer weather. Apply it in the evening so it doesn't burn leaves in the heat of the day. One last thing, and this one is about planning ahead for next season. Not all tomato varieties are created equal when it comes to heat tolerance, and if you live in a region with long, brutal summers, the south, southwest, or anywhere that sees extended periods above 90 degrees, choosing the right variety from the start changes everything. Heat-tolerant varieties like Solar Fire, Heatmaster, Florida 91, and Sweet 100 cherry tomatoes are specifically bred to set fruit at higher temperatures than standard varieties. They continue pollinating and producing through conditions that would cause other varieties to shut down completely. If you've tried everything and your tomatoes still struggle every midsummer, the variety you're growing may simply not be suited to your climate. Next season, try one heat-tolerant variety alongside your usual favorites and compare the results. It might be the single biggest change you make. All right, so let's bring this all together. If your tomatoes have slowed down or stopped producing this summer, here's your checklist. Check your temperatures. Use shade cloth if daytime highs are consistently above 90. Check your watering. Get on a consistent deep watering schedule and switch to drip if you can. Check your pollinators. Hand pollinate in the morning and plant some flowers nearby. Check your fertilizer. Switch to a lower nitrogen, higher phosphorus blend once flowering begins. Prune your suckers and get some airflow through those plants. And watch the lower leaves for early signs of disease so you can catch it before it spreads. Most of the time, when tomatoes stop producing, it's one or two of these things working together. Fix them one at a time, be patient, and your plants will come back. If this video helped you figure out what's going on in your garden, please give it a thumbs up. It helps more gardeners find this channel, and that means everything to us here at Simple Smart Gardening Tips. Subscribe if you haven't already, because we've got a lot more practical, no-nonsense gardening content coming your way. And drop a comment below. Tell me which of these fixes you're going to try first. I genuinely love hearing from you guys and reading what's happening in your gardens. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one.